Hi, everyone. Welcome, Friends of the Planet. It is Zoe here, and today I am so excited to be joined by Marina Psaros, who is the sustainability lead for Unity, which is the world's leading platform for programming and development for video games. Marina, I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Zoe. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to start off just by asking you if you could talk a little bit more about your organization and what the organization does for the gaming industry, as well as your role as sustainability lead, just to give our readers a little bit more context.
Great. Yeah, you mentioned that Unity is a development platform for games. We do run more than half the world's video games. And we also are the platform where people are using data visualizations and simulations to solve some of the world's biggest problems. My favorite that recently came past was the Nature Conservancy has built what they call the Water Intelligence Platform using Unity technology. And what they're doing is visualizing data about groundwater within a watershed. And so I do love our gaming. I come from gaming, but I also want to let you know that we do a lot of other work in other areas. And that's actually how I got to Unity. My background is in climate change adaptation and mitigation planning. I've been doing that mostly in the public sector, looking at how we can leverage technology for sea level rise planning and smart cities and grid modernization. And so when the opportunity came to kind of stand up Unity's sustainability practice, I was really excited about thinking through what that would look like.
That's really awesome. And that's so cool to know about. I also really enjoy games and gaming. So it's really cool to hear from somebody who can merge this really cool industry with climate and environment, which I think is awesome. And that's what we're going to talk about today because you all recently put out a press release and had an event announcing that Unity will be the first of gaming companies to reach net zero emissions, which is before the federal government's target of 2050. I would love to know a little bit more about the initiative and sort of how it came to be.
We're actually joining a couple of really forward thinking organizations in looking at what our climate commitments could be. So, over the next several years, what we're starting to do is really just put our feet down and get started. There's been a lot of talk that's sort of planning to plan and we'll get there later. And we just realized after a year of internal discussions and thinking about what it was that we wanted to be doing and how we want to make an impact in the world that it's just time to get started. So that's what we're doing. That's what we've just announced is that starting in 2020, we will be net zero. We're going to do that through offsets, which is no one's end all be all. And that's known. We're not starting, though, to start offsetting in 2030. We're doing it now. So with 2020, we have three different areas that we want to be working in. First is offsetting all of our scope 1 through 3 emissions. So that's our operations, the use of our products. And then the next is we'll be looking at how we can make serious reductions to our own carbon footprint, right? Like that's where we really need to be. I'm so excited that we've signed on to Science Based Targets Initiative, which is actually helping companies think through what it really means. So beyond just the offsetting, what would it mean to actually go through your supply chain, look at your procurement practices, and think through all of it, soup to nuts? How do we reduce our own footprint? And then once we've done all the reduction we can, we'll be able to offset that small bit. And then the third part of what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that we're aligning ourselves with other organizations and groups that are also really looking at how we solve this problem. This last year, we joined the United Nations Playing for the Planet Alliance, which is a group of gaming companies and platforms that are thinking through how we can decarbonize. And we also joined Drawdown Lab. Project Drawdown is an amazing organization that takes through what some of the climate solutions are to actually draw down emissions. And so we've joined them to look at how our sector interacts with the solutions that are in Project Drawdown.
It's great to hear that you're working with so many really great organizations and that you're definitely, working towards those goals in a group, which is really, really great to hear. I know that personally, I don't think about the gaming industry as, a contributor to emissions. And I'm sure a lot of our readers also think more about, oil companies and gas companies. Could you talk a little bit more about why it's so important for Unity and these other companies that you're working with in the industry to work towards these same goals?
I recently read a statistic that said about 75% of people between the ages of 2 and 60 play video games. Understanding that there's that many video game players out there is amazing, right? We're all using energy as we play those video games. Every industry is going to need to start looking at themselves and thinking really hard about what would it mean to decarbonize an entire industry. For games, that's often in the cloud. Data centers and our cloud are running on clean energy. But then there's also this huge opportunity that we have to change culture. Like video games really drive a lot of culture.
Mhm.
And one of the things that we've done through the Playing for the Planet Alliance is called a Green Game Jam. So a lot of big games like Pokemon Go and Angry Birds and some others have put green content into their games. They've also started experimenting with things like if you do something outside of the game, you will get a reward in game. So if that's, a beach cleanup or contribution to a charity, there's a lot of work with AR, so augmented reality, to kind of blend in-game realities with out-of-game realities. It's been a real pleasure to work with Ahika Rangers, which is a game that enables people to do actual citizen science. So you can go on a mission in the game and you collect data, which is used by a research community to drive, real world impact in a specific location. So that's part of your game, right? You get an in-game reward for gathering that out-of-game content that's used for researchers. So I think looking at innovations like that is really important. Like that's how we'll get it done if we've actually used our own
Mhm.
resources and really shifted culture around ideas, what it means to be an environmentalist and what it means to even play a game. That's all shifting.
I love that. I am definitely an avid player of Pokemon Go, and I love that each step that I take outside is doing something for me in a game. So I think it's really cool to encourage people to play games that help the environment. Was just also wondering how you hope that this announcement and how your work towards reaching net zero emissions will influence other companies moving forward. And how do you sort of hope that this helps to influence the public's view of your industry? Because, like I said before, a lot of them don't really think about the gaming industry when they are thinking and talking about reaching net zero emissions.
For the first part of the question about the gaming industry in general, like I mentioned, this is really new territory for everyone. And so I hope that others will join us and partner with us on our mission and on their mission to decarbonize what they're doing and what we're doing together.
Mhm.
But joining this alliance and working with our partners at, Sony and Microsoft and the UN and Niantic, who makes Pokemon Go, all the big organizations here, we're all figuring it out and we're able to learn from each other, by saying we're getting this done now and we're going to be moving on a journey, is humble enough to admit we don't have all the answers, but also brave enough to admit we know where we need to go. And so I'm really excited about learning and seeing this as a sort of peer-to-peer race to zero experience where we're all actually doing good. I get excited when I think about the power that some of the industry has to do something like what Salesforce did a few years ago. They did a virtual power purchase agreement, which is a way to say, okay, I would like to have clean energy running in a place that doesn't have clean energy yet. So I'm going to go build a solar farm in Africa, or, we're going to go actually take physical concrete steps to make a new reality, right? So I think that the network itself has the ability to dream big dreams like that. What
Right.
would be the most impactful things that we could do to really drive sustainability? I wrote a lot about this in my book and in a lot of the research I did. People talk about not having a sense of agency. People are really worried about climate change and not sure what they can do. And a lot of us feel really powerless. And so I think about our power being in a couple of different spheres of influence as consumers, as community members, and as citizens. And I think that gaming really nicely ties it all together. We can consume content that is positive. We can create content that's positive. There's a wonderful example of a game called Mission 1.5, which was actually played all over the world before the last Conference of the Parties, COP25, which is the big UN climate change conference. And they gathered data. They did a poll about what should be done about climate change. And they got this poll data from millions of people people all over the world. It's really hard to get that kind of data from that many different people living in that many different places. And they were able to bring that data, this game was able to bring that data and basically say to COP, look, this is an important issue for, millions of people all over the world. Thinking through how we can, engage games and citizenry is really important. And then as creators, we all want to be a part of making the world a better
Mhm.
place, and we can do that through games.
Yeah, I know that that's really important to me too. It can be hard as just one person to feel like you're doing something. So it's really awesome that, you all are supporting games and platforms that are hoping to do that. That's really awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending the time to talk with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation. I will include some links in the description below, with more info about Unity and about what y'all are doing. I'll include information about your book. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. It's been so great having you here.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. I'll see you again soon.
Awesome. Of course.